Hi, this is the KC Writers Fair Authors Series, featuring local Kansas City authors. I'm your host, W.H. Mitchell, author of The Arcs of Andromeda and The Dragons of Andromeda. Today we're speaking with Jennifer Haskin. Jennifer is the author of the Freedom Fight Trilogy, a coming-of-age journey for young adults who love fantasy, sci-fi, and romance. Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, nice to be here.
I'm going to ask you some questions. Your first book, The Key of F, is a young adult fantasy romance featuring a heroine named Fail. What makes her a hero in your eyes?
Okay, mostly because she starts out just a girl, having her last childhood summer before starting college, and she's very much a young girl with hopes and dreams, crushes, and she finds herself in this scary mystery and makes really rash decisions that have usually terrible consequences. She's very headstrong, and she grows. By the end of the second book, she's grown emotionally and is much stronger, but really it's the events at the end of that book that throw her into a depression at the beginning of the third book. And she continues to grow throughout this series to where by the time she fights the antagonist at the end, she's become a strong female heroine. So she doesn't start out that way at all, but she becomes who she wants to be, and she knows who that is and why. So I think the fact that she learns how to make good choices for herself and her people is really what makes her a hero.
So it sounds like she has sort of a character arc, not just within one book, but over the entire trilogy.
Yes.
Does that sound right?
Yes.
Very good. In your second book, The Queen's Heart, she finds herself in a love triangle. Obviously, emotions can be very important on an adventure. How does her relationship affect how she handles the other challenges in that book?
The love triangle is actually between all four characters that are taking the journey. So it's very involved and causes a big strain on the friendships, and there's betrayal. She mostly learns humility, I think. She learns strategy and how to fight for what she wants. She learns how to press on, though everything is falling apart around her. Everything seems to go wrong on a personal level, and it teaches her how to be an adult, really, and the importance of team and working as a team. So I think it helps in the process of growing her into becoming that strong female hero.
So how much time is passing between the first book and the end of the third book?
It's one of those like TV mystery kind of thing where the first book is really only like a week long or something like that, but the second book is like a 3-month, and then I think the third one is that 3-month journey back. So the whole thing really takes place within a year, but it in the fictional world it seems like forever. So
right. So in real life, she basically becomes an adult of sorts in real time, like a year.
Yeah.
I'm 50 and I still haven't fully matured.
I'm second grader in my head. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, after that final book, the final book was called The Final Rescue. You've been working on a steampunk series now, is that correct?
Yeah, well, and I thought the whole series was going to be steampunk, but it turns out it's a 4-book series that the first one is steampunk, where the protagonist is a boy named Will, opens a door to find a new world, and it's a world that has been created by a clockwork pen. A man has come across a pen that creates clockwork life. And so he's made an entire world in this dimension. And it isn't until the end of the book that they discover there's really a celestial set of creation instruments that's been stolen and scattered among man-made dimensions, where the heavenly scribe Metatron can't find them. And so they're recruited at the end of the first book to find the other instruments. So the next book will be like on an island, and then one will be in the Wild West, and the fourth one is yet to be decided. So
is this kind of a metaphor for the author's pen, where he's creating, the character is creating a new world just as you are creating new worlds?
kind of. I haven't read that, and I guess I need to. But the characters that they come across have already done that, have already made the new worlds, and they're having to go into those worlds and find the item that was used to create the world and extract it.
So do you have a working title for the series or the first book?
No, the first book is The Clockwork Pen.
Oh, okay, I see.
But I had thought about the series in a couple different ways, but everything came too close to the Mortal Instruments.
Oh,
And so the creation instruments,
sure.
the different things just didn't quite sound original enough.
Yeah.
So not yet.
Yeah, I understand. Well, you have time. You have 4 books to write, so.
Yeah.
So before you were an author, you were a literary agent and a publishing consultant. How did those experiences affect how you approached writing a book of your own?
Well, actually, I started out as an author. It was something that I had just begun to experiment with. I had written I'd written The Key of F in 2.5 weeks. It came to me in a dream. And then
Wow.
I was on such a roll, I wrote The Queen's Heart in the next 2.5 weeks.
Goodness.
And then book 3 took me like a year because I kept changing how I wanted to end it. But I had these books and didn't know what to do with them, and got thrust into the literary world and just started learning so fast. And I learned so much being an agent. I wasn't an agent for very many years because I had a rush of spinal surgeries. And I couldn't be a good agent and heal and do everything at the same time. So I just kind of let that go, and became a consultant. Just in the meantime, learning. And the more manuscripts you read and you help with and you edit, the more easily you recognize a good manuscript. I learned how to tell the difference between low, mid, and high level writing. And it's all been such a huge learning process. And I learned that there are not intentionally vague, but somewhat vague aspects to the publishing world that are kept that way. I don't think out of purpose, but authors don't understand the entire publishing process. And I think it's that scary, in the dark feeling that keeps them from striking out and knowing what really happens when you send your manuscript to an agent, and not knowing that it's really subjective, and that agents do have kind of a coded response in those responses that you get. And they say, I'm just not connecting. A lot of times that means that you need to go deeper into your POV because they're not connecting with the character. Or, sometimes I just think authors would benefit to know more about the process of publishing to be more comfortable.
Right. I mean, from that experience, is there some actual specific advice you would give to an author? I mean, I'm even one that isn't necessarily wanting to publish through the traditional way and publish as an indie author.
A lot. And I on my weekly blog, I talk about writing, editing, publishing, and marketing advice. And I do talk about whether I think that traditional publishing is an option, small presses, large presses, self-publishing. I talk about how to do different things and writing tips, all kinds of things that anything I can think of that will give an author an edge. I try to put in there and just enlighten, I guess.
Well, thank you very much, Jennifer. I know you did have some recent surgery, more back surgery, and I hope that
if I'm not making sense, that's why.
No, you're making perfect sense. You make more sense than I do most of the time, so that's something. At least you have medication to blame. I just have the old gray cells. But I do appreciate you coming, and again, I hope that you're feeling better soon. As I've said in these other videos, we don't have a set date for the KC Writers Fair yet. We're still waiting for the Olathe library system to fully open up. I know they've opened up the library, but it's only for a small amount of people. So
yeah, check in, get out.
Yeah, until we can have the nice meeting space for our authors and have people safely there, we'll wait until we have a good time. We're pretty flexible, shoestring kind of a situation. So as long as everybody, including the authors, feels safe, we'll wait until we have some kind of consensus or so. But I definitely hope that you will come once that does occur. And I look forward to meeting you in person as opposed to virtually.
Yes, in space.
Absolutely. And once again, thank you very much for joining us for today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks to Jennifer Haskin for joining us. If you'd like to read her books, they're available on Amazon. The Authors Series is brought to you by the KC Writers Fair, coming to the Indian Creek Library in Olathe, Kansas. See our Facebook page for dates and times. I'm your host, W.H. Mitchell. Until next time, goodbye.